Order of operations, lots of parentheses. So for this, we're going to look at different types of parentheses first because we're going to see a lot more. So there's a kind of a form of hierarchy in parentheses. So you're going to see this one, which, it's very common to see, right? And so it's kind of a simple but angled kind of lines. Then you can get these kind of like square brackets, as they're kind of called. That could be like the next layer out. And then lastly, you might see kind of something like that as like the different and final one. That's kind of more in the outer one. So that's kind of the different ones we'll see. Now, when we're looking and solving for these kind of problems, we're always going to do the inner parentheses first, and then we're going to like work outward. So let's go over some examples. So example 1, we have 4 plus 2 in parentheses minus, and then this outer parentheses of 5 squared divided by, then another parentheses, 2 plus 3. So we're going to remember still our order of PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we're going to start with parentheses, and we're going to start with the inner parentheses first. So we can start off with this one right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Everything else will stay the same. So we have 2 plus 3, which that is 5. So now we've dealt with the innermost parentheses right here. Now we can do the next layer, which would be this one. And we might as well go ahead and do this one too. So for this next step, we're going to go 4 plus 2. So that is 6 minus. Then when we do this inner parentheses, we still do our order of operations. Notice we have an exponent, so let's go ahead and deal with that first. So we have 5 squared, so that's 5 times 5, so that's 25. Then divided by 5. Well, we still have to work inside this parenthesis, so let's just keep going. This is just 6, as we already solved for it, minus. Now we have the only step we can do, which is 25 divided by 5, which is just 5. So then, we've dealt with all these steps of parentheses, and we've dealt with the order. Now we're just going to do the final step, which will be subtraction, which is right here. So 6 minus 5, which is just equal to 1. So that would be our solution. Now let's do another example. Example 2. Susan is school shopping for her children. Her child gets 3 pairs of jeans for $40 each with a 50% discount on the jeans. And then there's 4 shirts for $14 each with a 30% discount. Susan also has an additional $10 off coupon for the whole purchase. What should Susan spend before taxes added? So for this problem, let's set it up. So we need to set up our whole thing. So we have the first thing. So let's look at that. Let's go back. So we have 3 pairs for $40. Well, we can represent this by either adding $40 3 times, or we can just go 3 times 40. So that would be inside of parentheses. Notice though we get a 50% discount. So for us to do that, we can just go ahead and write outside this parentheses 50. And then we remember we always want to get it out of the percentage. So we would just divide it by 100 or move the decimal to the left twice. So if we went like this, we would just get 0.5, or we can go 50% and then just move it over twice. So we get 0.5. So let's just go ahead and just add the decimal right there. And then let's enclose this. Notice that that is a decimal and not a multiplication, but we are also multiplying, so just remember that is a decimal. Then the next thing is they get 4 shirts for $14 each. So let's go ahead and just add this because we're adding up a total. So let's go ahead and write 4 shirts times 14. And then for this time, they get a 30% discount. So let's go ahead and close further brackets. Now, when you get a 30% discount, that means you're paying only 70% of the total of that price. So rather than, say, finding what the 30% discount and then subtracting that total of 14 times 4 times this discount amount, let's just go ahead and multiply it by 0.70. So it's the same thing as saying if we find this and then subtracting what a 30% discount is on that. So this just kind of saves us a whole step. And then we can go ahead and close this. So let's go over this. Say there's a $10 item and you get a 30% discount to kind of go off with a 30%. So what happens is what is the actual amount of the new item price? So if you think about it, right, this is a discount. So you're only going to pay 70% of what it is. Or you can look at the 30% discount. So 30% of $10, well, we say $10, well, 10% of that is $1. So 30% would be $3. So the actual amount of the new thing would be then $10 minus $3 to give us $7. Or you can just go back to multiplying $10 times 0.7, and then we'd get $7. So kind of just something to look back if that's not as familiar right now. So let's continue because we're not quite done setting our problem. Then the last thing is that she has a $10 off coupon for the whole purchase. So that means we're going to need to subtract $10 off this total amount. Okay, so now we've set up our problems and now we can go and start to solve. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look inside the inner parentheses. So we have one here and one right here. So let's go ahead and solve for those two. So in this next step, we'll go 3 times 40, which is just 120. Then let's just go ahead and write out 0.50. Then we have plus 4 times 14, which is 56. Then let's just change this into, so it's the same as the first one. So we have this times 0.70, enclose the brackets there, and then minus 10. So we've dealt with our innermost parentheses. So now we keep going. So when we keep looking inside the parentheses, and we notice we have a multiplication. So we need to solve for both of these. So we have 120 times 0.50. So essentially it's just 1/2, which would be then 60. So the first one here is 60 plus, we have 56 times 0.7, which is then 39.2. And then we have minus 10. So let's just work left to right and let's deal with our addition and subtraction. So we have 60 plus 39.2, which is then 99.2 minus 10. So So that would be 89.2, and this would be the total before taxes.